everybody? Good. I guess they didn't have everybody show up. Usually they don't have leftover vegetables.
Pardon?
They don't have leftover vegetables in the pantry.
Patrick started giving those out a little bit later, so.
Oh, you came yesterday?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we brought the nectarines that we picked from our tree.
Oh.
Because we had so many. They were already starting to get soft.
Oh, that's nice. Good to get snack. I get tired. I get 7 days a week out of the house. I had to stay home. Yes. Took 2 naps. I feel much better now. Just trying to work and do every other thing on the weekend. I can't do it. How's Susie Q? She's still there on the couch watching. She watched on the couch. She watched from the couch. I know she told me. You get spoiled that way.
She probably got retired, so that's cool. They tell her to keep back. I gotta pick all that stuff with the Medicare. You gotta pick a supplement, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, boy. See, when I was in the military, I didn't think I was gonna get any benefit. I get a lot of benefits now. Go to the
You want to do the service?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Air Force. I'm not Marine.
What?
Air Force. The best friend.
I bet your son would take that.
I don't debate it. I just think that.
No argument.
No. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Diane.
No, you just only one song.
Hey, Matthew. Every Matthew say I'm loud. Okay.
So how far you gotta get? Still the numbers? Leviticus. Where are we?
Still in numbers.
Deuteronomy.
Or are we in Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy?
He gave us a Deuteronomy paper.
Oh, we Deuteronomy now? Okay.
Right.
Deuteronomy has some good stories. I kind of like it. Leviticus is gonna be.
Oh, that's right.
What did the book get its name? Gotta get that. I can't skip some chapters.
We'll do it after lunch.
Text kept going off at the end of church. It was from Wayne. I'm just reading it here. I don't completely understand, but it's about that his brother died.
There you go.
So that I'm supposed to tell the church, like, his first was in
Yeah.
He's in Belize. His name is Lyndon Twist. My mother, her son. You remember my mother making a horse at the Mitchell business. We still pray for Wayne's family.
What is he doing now anyways?
He's communicating stuff with, I assume he's still at the airport. Tell the church the address about this. What? I don't know what it means. I'm sharing.
What happened?
Kindly today, Wayne's brother in Belize died. So he's
Oh,
telling me,
boy.
and so the church should pray, but I don't know what this is about an address. Please tell church the address about this. You understand?
Or address the church.
Would you kindly
the church, I think he's trying to say.
address the church?
Yes.
It's a word I'm surprised you would know. You know what I mean? 'Cause anyway, my brother, now, my brother has stage 4 lung cancer, but I don't know if it's this one. He's one of like 8 kids. So I'm asking for translation. interpretation. I don't know if he's the one.
Send them a question for clarification.
Yeah. It's the last June.
Okay,
May is the last time he communicated, so I.
let's push that door, so we. That's a danger sitting there, Michael, you gotta close that door. We're on the air, and so you can review the class throughout the week several times. It's on YouTube. But we're doing or continuing our survey of the Old Testament. Just kind of looking at the highlights of each of the books, not going through verse by verse. So we were in Deuteronomy, and need a sheet? We've got a few left. Well, might as well distribute them.
Of course.
Send one around to Clarence there, whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to go back to question 5. I know we were in that area. Why did the Lord give the land of Canaan to the Israelites? We talked about that last time, and we read the verses in Deuteronomy that said, it's not because they were the most righteous or the best or certainly the most powerful. That's not the reason he gave the promised land to the Israelites. What was the reason it was given? Who remembers that in Deuteronomy chapter 9, verses 5 and 6? It was part of God's plan.
He was punishing those nations that
Yeah,
were in Canaan at the time.
yeah. It is on account of the wickedness of those nations, the Lord is going to drive them out before you. It is not because of your righteousness or your integrity that you're going in to take possession of their land, but on account of the wickedness of these nations. It is not because of your righteousness, for you are a stiff-necked people. That's kind of what we have seen. These books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers have shown the Israelites is not really a heroic people, but as a people of constant complaint and disaffection. But I was struck by that because it illustrates the fact that here and throughout history, God is accomplishing his will, and he's using imperfect people to do it. Sometimes very imperfect people, we might say.
Well, he says that those nations were wicked.
Yeah,
So obviously, the implication there
Come
is
on.
that they should have known about God
yeah,
and about obeying God. Although they were not explicitly part of the covenant, but with Abraham.
Yeah.
But yet it appears or seemed that God he expected them to be aware. Is that
I think so. We don't know. Did God send prophets to the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Canaanites, and all of those? To what standard is he holding them responsible?
I know in one of Paul's letters, I think it's Romans, that he says there's so much evidence of God's existence, God's goodness for his people, that they have no excuse
Yeah,
to say, well, nobody ever told me about God, or nobody,
yeah,
you know, they should know just because of what's around us.
yeah.
So, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I was trying to. They were foolish.
It's right at the beginning
Yeah.
of Romans.
What may be known about God is plain to them because God has made it plain to them. Romans 1, verse 19. Yeah, certainly those people were not responsible for following the law of Moses because they never received it. But there were certain principles that they were held responsible for. I guess maybe not worshiping the sun, the moon, and the stars, but realizing there was something else, not worshiping other gods. Again, we don't know what messengers God may have sent to those people. It sometimes seems unfair. Well, God is getting rid of all of these people, but we're not aware of what he's done for them. We're given a lot of information about what God did to and for the Israelites over the course of their history. The scriptures we have quickly narrowed down to one family, the family of Abraham, and follow it through them, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. We follow that family. But there were a lot of other families, and somehow God in his righteousness holds them responsible. And
They also heard about the miraculous things God did for the children of Israel, bringing them out of Egypt.
yeah,
And I think about Elijah, when he challenged them, with with Balaam, and his altar was covered in water and everything, and God worked that miracle there and
responded with fire, yeah.
with fire, yeah. And the people saw it, but they still didn't turn.
Yeah,
Didn't change.
yeah,
They knew what God was.
yeah. That's a good point. A lot of people know better. So anyway, yeah, that's a good point too. God is not unfair in his judgments. And we looked last time at the promise to Abraham, and he said it's not going to be for 400 years that your descendants inherit the promised land because the time of the Gentiles is not fulfilled. He's given them, as I understand that, 400 years to repent. And it hasn't happened.
It's not always the same people, but they're supposed to be telling the next bunch.
Yes.
This is what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Generation.
Just shows you human nature though.
So that's a good point too. But again, God uses imperfect people to accomplish his will. And he does that today because we're all imperfect. And yet he wants to use us to accomplish his will. Not because we're sinless or anything like that, but we have talents that he's given us to accomplish things for Jesus. We may not preach before a stadium full of people. We may just touch a few other lives. We touch the lives of our family members. We touch some of the lives of others that he's using us to do that. I thought of that when I kept the list of kids who graduated. Remember, we were talking about that. And we so often pray for them when they go into the new school year. Often it's to a new school. And we pray that God will be with them and protect them. But you know, in a way, when that happens, we've now got a missionary in those different schools who we didn't have before. Perhaps we ought to pray more for kids and for one another, in addition to being protected, that we be with them, that they have an influence for good and serve as missionaries for Christ in whatever their environment is, whether it be a school or place of business or some other thing like that. I'll tell the story again that I've repeated numerous times over the years, back in the time of the old Soviet Union, and I would probably think continuing on, Christians were not treated very favorably. And in fact, one time under the Soviet Union, some people were arrested for meeting in the name of Jesus and sent to Siberia. And instead of pouting and feeling bad, the people at that church where they were said, God be praised. Now we've got some missionaries in Siberia. And that was such a powerful lesson that it always remained with me. And I repeat it a lot. Anyway, that's the Israelite.
The land of Canaan. Before the question go this way, why Canaan land? There is a lot of nations around. Why Canaan?
Why Canaan?
Yeah.
Well, that was God's plan. He said it was a good land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and he wanted to give it because of his.
Yeah, it's a land that God created in. It's a land that is the Lord has, and he wants his people to dwell there.
Yeah.
So those who are living there are not doing what God wants.
Right.
But though the world is around, all the nations are around, but Canaan land is special for God. That's the reason why he promised Abraham to give him that land.
That's right.
It's a promise. The fulfilling the promise, those who are living there, if like they were following what God told them, wanted to do, maybe he will not wipe them off, or he will not let Israel to fight with them. Rather, he will let Israel to be with them, so that they will know that they are all worshiping the same God. But they rather are doing the wicked way, sacrifice, human, and this kind of thing. That's the reason why God chose to drive them away, to let Israel take over, because it's a promise to Abraham.
Now we could say, well, why did he promise that to Abraham? Why didn't he give Abraham a different land? But again, that was God's promise. He brought Abraham away from his family and relatives to the promised land, because he felt perhaps that would be the best way to work with Abraham and his descendants.
This seemed to be geographically an important intersection. I mean, you live, you work to trade, go down, you have to go through Canaan, okay, from Mesopotamia to Egypt, and vice versa. And it's most important area for trade route. So you get a lot of traffic.
That's a good point. We could, in a sense, it's the center of the world, of that part of the world. We don't know what's going on in China and India, but there are, from Italy or from Europe, Africa, and Asia. That's where they meet, at Palestine.
The easier, I mean, put them on a boat, ship them to, North America, but that's.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on over there. Anyway,
So did that change with the New Testament, that Israel is a promised land?
it's not a sacred land. I mean, it's not the land is not sacred,
That was just political. I don't think that was religious.
right?
They were everything.
But it's still,
God's kingdom now is the people throughout the world who follow Jesus. It's not people who are of a certain family, the family of God.
Are there tribes lost now anyway? They don't know what tribe they were from, right?
Mostly, yes.
Mostly, yeah.
That's the records were destroyed when Jerusalem was destroyed. Also, the whatever records existed in.
my resident claims to be
They claim it, but it can't
Levi,
be shown.
yeah.
They just pick
Khan, it's the priestly.
Because of the names, some people think that those were the names of the Levites.
So he married a person who had been married before, but he had all kinds of within Judaism difficulties because he was not supposed to marry a divorced person in that brand of Judaism. So he had to get some dispensation. She had to do something legally.
Was he Jewish though?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but now
But he's a priest?
he's Khan, Chahn, and that's of the
Cohen.
supposedly the Levite tribe,
Oh, okay,
supposedly.
okay.
So he's taking
Again,
it seriously. I don't know.
supposedly.
As for chapter 2 in Nehemiah, chapter 7, it's very clearly stated in there, you can't prove your genealogy, you're not a part of Israel. It's
At that time,
when we
that's
get there, it will clearly state that. These people were rejected because they could not prove their genealogy.
That's
But they always took in converts, right, and accepted them.
Russell.
but not as Israel.
Oh. It's not the same.
Pedigree, very important to the Jews. Still is today.
Anyway. So I just wanted to kind of focus on that. Thanks for your comments. It's an interesting part of the study of these early books. And I think we talked about the place of worship foreseen in Deuteronomy question 6. It's from chapter 12, verse 11. But it's really the temple was foreseen and predicted. And then what form of government, as we read on in Deuteronomy, what form of government did Deuteronomy prepare the people for? God knew that in addition to continuing on as a confederation of tribes, ultimately they would want to be like the nations round about them and have a king. And so he gave some instructions for what that king should be like and what he should do. This is Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. I'll just dwell on that for a minute. And think of the kings that came about. Okay. This is Deuteronomy 17:14. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, and have taken possession of it, and settled in it, and you say, let us set a king over us, like all the nations around us. And that happened during the time of Samuel, remember? But it wasn't God's intent. He knew that that's what they were going to do, even though he wanted them to continue with him as king.
So he really set them up for a theocracy, right?
That's right,
God on the throne,
right.
knowing that they're gonna want to change.
Yeah,
I think that's the answer.
but it's interesting. Be sure to appoint over you the king the Lord your God chooses. He must be from among your own brothers. Do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not a brother Israelite. The king, moreover, must not acquire great numbers of horses and for himself, or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them. For the Lord has told you, you're not to go back that way again. He must not take many wives, or his heart will be led astray. He must not accumulate large amounts of silver and gold. And
Well, they
So
sure
that-
violated that one, didn't
it's just about the opposite of what happened, isn't it? I mean, Solomon had,
they? 700 was.
yeah, and concubines, and had fortresses around the country with a standing army, lots of horses, and lots of silver and gold. And his descendants didn't have as much, but they seemed to follow the same pattern, his son. And even David had a lot of wives and riches and so on. So that was God's power, like a king has, or like some other officials have, corrupts. Power corrupts, as someone.
So many wives.
Yeah, that's
Spiritual.
that's what led Solomon astray. He married the princess of Egypt and others. When he takes the throne of his kingdom, he is to write for himself on the scroll a copy of this law, taken from that of the priests who are Levites. It is to be with him, and he is to read it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to revere the Lord his God and follow carefully all the words of this law and these decrees. That's an interesting thing, because it says, what's the king supposed to do? Read the law? Yes, but copy the law. Copy the law, write it down. He's supposed to take, the copy that existed and write his own. Why? Because just the writing of it imprints it on your brain
That's true.
and on your heart. That's what they told you in school, isn't it? If you want to remember something for the test, take notes during the class.
Write it down.
Don't just listen, write it down. It may seem to
Read it.
what you need to, even if you don't look at them, writing it down does something for you.
There's a woman that I don't really know her but somehow she shows up in my Facebook feed.
Oh,
And she follows this regimen that every day she writes out a portion of the Bible, from the King James
Okay.
Version for some reason.
It's the only
But
real version.
She posts it every day that she has done this day's King James
How
Version.
many verses does she
Translation.
write out?
Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes not too many, but
Did she post
evidently.
the actual verse or just say that she did it?
She
What
posts
she-
she takes a picture of
Oh, the paper.
where she wrote it out and puts it on
She
Facebook.
should film herself writing, it will be.
She's not the only one. I know a preacher, and I'll name him because Peter Bumpus from South Holland down here on
Okay.
south of Chicago. He said that when he is working on a sermon and he's going to focus on a passage, he takes and writes that passage down. So it'll stick with him more. And he's found that helps him in preparing for a lesson or anyway.
Physicality of
It,
it goes to your brain.
when we were, I'll tell you more, when we were going through the New Testament verse by verse, that's one of the ways that I would prepare for the class. And I've got the stack of sheets at home. I didn't write every word of every verse, but I wrote something about every verse that we studied in those books. So I've got just about the whole Old Testament. Anyway,
And
It's just-
we know that the kings didn't do that.
yes,
Because I just was remember thinking about, was it Josiah?
Yeah.
Where they were doing they were digging around some ruins of the temple or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And they found a copy of the law, and Josiah read it and started, tearing his clothes and because he said, I've never seen this, it's been lost, and I don't know, where in the progression of kings,
Whether it
how
was-
far along he was, but, so all that time, he didn't know anything about it.
anyway, that's one, that's a suggestion to the kings, and write it down. So anyway,
Well, now we know why a lot of ministers advocate taking notes when you're listening to their sermon.
Yeah.
That's something I took a hold of years ago when I was in college. I started doing that, and that's why I have a Bible full of notes. And basically, it expands my knowledge and my understanding of God's word to this day. So I think that's a great thing to get into. If you can, you have your Bible open and have a Bible that you can write in, not just a computer in your hand, that you'll benefit from it in the long run. Because your memories are just not that perfect. They don't remember everything.
Yeah.
So if you can write it down, it'll stick with you, like
Yeah.
Alan was saying.
anyway, I just wanted to kind of focus on that. What else, where are we now? Let's see. Government, we kind of talked about that. Question 8 is interesting here. What future prophet is foreseen in Deuteronomy? This is Deuteronomy chapter 18, starting at verse 15. Yeah. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me. This is Moses writing. From among your own brothers, you must listen to him. For this is what you ask of the Lord your God at Horeb, when you said, let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see his great fire anymore, or we will die. They wanted someone to tell it to him, and he's said, somebody's gonna come that's gonna tell you, and through him, well, here's the end, right? Through him, you're going to see the Father. So who is that? Jesus, the Christ, is the prophet to fulfill that prophecy concerning Moses, concerning him as a successor to Moses. Let's see. I just thought we might look at a verse or two in the New Testament that fulfills that. One is in Matthew chapter 2. There's more of them in John. Matthew chapter 2, 11. This is no. That's gonna be Matthew 21. I can't read my Matthew 21, 11. Let's see. Sometimes if you write things down, you have to be able to read your own notes.
Yeah, that's another trouble.
That's another.
It's most important though that you be able to read.
That's
I can read my notes where somebody else probably for different reasons.
When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, who is this? The crowds answered, this is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee. At the point they're making, did those people at that time, in addition, the prophet from Nazareth, were they saying this is the fulfillment of the prophet of the promise that Moses wrote about. The prophet. We'll see that. Let's turn over to John. It's more clear there, but some people think that's what was going on in Matthew, the prophet. When you see the word the prophet, John chapter 1, verse 21. This is somebody talking to John about, are you the Christ, John the Baptist? They asked him, then who are you? He said, and he did not fail to confess, but confessed, I am not the Christ. They asked him, then who are you? Are you Elijah? I am not. Are you the prophet? He answered, no, the prophet. Now my version, in this edition, has it capitalized, I don't know about yours, to emphasize that that's what they're talking about there. Are you the fulfillment of the promise made by and through Moses? The point being there that people, this was, the people had kept that in mind. It was such a part of the teaching of Judaism to expect a prophet like Moses that it came to the mind of these people. So it's interesting that it has survived, hundreds of years. Verse 25 of that chapter. Some of the Pharisees questioning John. Why then do you baptize if you're not the Christ, nor Elijah, nor the prophet? Again, that was on their minds and on their hearts. Expectation of a prophet like that. Let's see. I got a couple just for interest. Go down to verse 45 of John chapter 1. Philip heard Jesus. He found Nathanael and told him, we have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, those verses from Deuteronomy that he just read, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Moses wrote about in the law. He's aware of Deuteronomy. I thought that's kind of fascinating that that has stayed with the people for so long, and that they're looking for its fulfillment. And they find it in the person of Jesus. And Jesus, just a couple more, if you don't mind. In John chapter 5, this is Jesus himself speaking at the end of his discussion of testimonies. He says, verse 46, John 5:46. If you believe Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But since you do not believe what he wrote, how are you going to believe what I say? He's referring to that promise of the prophet. Let's see if there's another group. And with the next chapter, John chapter 6, verse 14. After the people saw the miraculous sign that Jesus did, they began to say, surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world, the prophet who is to come. And anyway, so that's just those couple of verses in Deuteronomy lead us right to the Christ. Anyway.
Well, it shows you how powerful Moses' influence was
Yeah.
on people,
Yeah.
Until Jesus came, he was like Jesus, I think, the way I kind of see it to them. But he wasn't completely
He was
Jesus.
the leader, yeah.
They practically worshipped him.
And it's so easy to read those verses in the New Testament, he's the prophet, not a prophet, he's the prophet that was expected. So it's just some more,
So at that time, these ordinary guys seemed to know the scriptures,
yes.
as
That's-
opposed to the Josiah time or whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting. They had school and a lot of these fairly well-educated guys knew the Old Testament. We read that in the letters of Paul. Things are always popping into his mind. That's why his sentences are so long, because things are popping into his mind from the Old Testament, and he writes them down.
But I thought these apostles were pretty ordinary guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
God revealed to them some things that they
they
should
went
say.
to school. Okay, maybe gone to school.
I don't know, yeah, to what extent they studied the law. But it's, we can talk about that. But, and they went to school, at least the boys did, in the Jewish times. But they had nothing else to study. They didn't have history, science, mathematics. All they had was this, the Old Testament. And so
That's why it was everything.
to some extent, they virtually memorized huge parts of it. So anyway, that's one of the things you learn from Deuteronomy and the rest of these books, that they were in the minds of the Pharisees and a lot of the educated people. Here's what we've run into before. How were the Israelites to deal with the inhabitants of the promised land? That is what we run into as we continue the message of Deuteronomy. This comes from Deuteronomy chapter 20. So, I read verses 17 and 18. Completely destroy them. The Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, different tribes, as the Lord your God has commanded you. Otherwise, they will teach you to follow all the detestable things they do in worshiping their gods, and you will sin against the Lord your God. So it's pretty extreme. And but God has given these people time to repent, completely destroy. God didn't want a bad influence. I don't, what can we learn anything from those thoughts?
Well, they didn't always do it.
They didn't
So that
always
led
do
to
it.
a lot of problems later on. They destroyed some people, certain groups, and others they compromised with. They said, well, this kind of movement.
We'll get
And
into
then before you know, their gods are coming in and taking over, and then that led to the judges, eventually.
The thing that came to mind, we're not told to destroy anybody.
Right.
We're not told to destroy those who are not Christians. Some people in the past thought that might be a good idea, and it led to crusades and other destructive things. But what is the point here? It's so easy for an outside influence to touch our lives that they're told, get rid of it, the outside influence. Do whatever it takes to get rid of it, because otherwise you're going to be compromising. And maybe that's something that we can consider. The temptation, the power of Satan working through outside influences in various ways maybe suggests to us, you just got to get rid of it, that outside influence. Don't compromise with it. There's you know, certain books and types of books, certain shows and types of shows, certain places to go, that you just can't say, I'm gonna do that or go there. I won't let it influence me. You can't take the chance. Just like they couldn't take the chance here with these people.
And yet, we're not supposed, I think, as Christians though, we do need to sometimes be at those places to try to influence, but yeah, it works both ways, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I mean, we may be able to influence people for the good, but if we're not strong enough, they
Yeah.
might be able to
it's gonna
influence us for the bad.
So ask yourself, what's my purpose in going here? Let's say you go to a bar or you go to Vegas, you know, there's Gamblers Anonymous, you know, you can go there and work with and pull people away from gambling or people away from alcoholism, or you're going in there to socialize, you know, spend your money, you know, so you have to really examine that real closely. Before you go to a place like that.
How do you draw the line? That's the critical question. Where and how do you draw that line to keep the bad influences out of your life?
The way
Do you take that television set and throw it out?
No.
Do you take your computer and, bash
No.
because there's bad stuff on there?
That's the reason why some of the churches don't watch television. I think Deeper Life or
What's it?
yeah,
Don't
Deeper
watch
Life.
television.
Deeper Life. They don't watch television.
Where's this?
Deeper Life. Deeper Life. Deeper Life church. Church. Do you know Deeper Life church?
No.
You don't hear of them.
It's like apostolic or something? Or, I don't know.
No, they are not apostolic.
Where are they?
They are
Also
also.
anti-church.
Yeah, it's not church.
Yeah, we
If
don't
you
want to be
go
that.
there, you find the Deeper Life. They are all over. Yeah. They don't wear earrings, it's very corrupt, I mean, a lot of things. They don't want chairs, no television. They don't wear a cloth with design in it or those kind of things. They have a lot. But now they are children and this.
Yeah, kids don't
They
go
don't
with
go
that.
It's a losing thing.
Well, I mean, the church, for years, and in certain parts of the country, you can still watch the Herald of Truth television program, radio, Herald of Truth radio, different radio preachers are on the radio. We put our class on YouTube and our morning worship service, I guess that's on YouTube also,
Yeah.
even though it's in Zoom. So, I mean, we try to partake of these modern things, so they can be a good influence too. It's handy if you're on vacation somewhere, you could tune in the Wednesday night class here or tune in the worship service. And that's had an impact. Every week, you can look at the bulletin and see how many people were listening to our watching our morning worship service. But each individual has to keep that in mind. Where do I draw the line? Do I just watch the service, or is it all right to watch, an old movie or a comedy show, or to watch the ball game? Is that a bad influence, or is it a waste of time? What's it gonna do to me if I
We'll
do
take it
that?
more broad. We have this acquaintance that doesn't want to seek healthcare at a hospital that does abortions. Well, she has a hard time with her insurance. She can't always pick where she is covered.
Isn't all hospitals, don't they all?
Not the Catholic hospitals. no.
Oh, the Catholic.
I mean, that's kind of in the division, I don't know,
Oh,
but that gets extreme, I think,
Yeah, but it
Since I work at
shows
one,
a sensitivity to right and wrong.
Yeah.
That it may be a good thing.
Well, that's where your conscience comes in.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's been trained in righteousness, and then it'll guide you making these decisions. if we haven't trained it, developed it yet, then it'd be hard to make those decisions.
These
Call it, make the right
instructions
call.
to the Israelites suggest maybe we should be more careful.
There's more to it, because even now, we all have children. You don't know where your children is going to marry to.
Yeah.
All those things brought this kind of things. If you go to your knees, your prayer is your children to marry somebody who is a true Christian from your believing, so that not be corrupt tomorrow, either the woman because of the way she married or the man he married. Those kind of things are very, troublesome in the families a lot.
We worry about our kids.
You only marry a Christian.
I mean,
You're gonna be a Christian, you marry a Christian.
You will teach, you will tell
Teach
her,
them now.
she will be. Sometimes people call it, they say love is blind. You choose something and then you come out of it, and then that tomorrow it will corrupt you. That's the reason why you see the Muslims, a man, you are going for a Muslim woman, they will tell you the man.
They arrange it,
Yeah.
They get that down, yeah. There's
Exactly.
always, you have to marry a Muslim.
You have to be a Muslim.
You're in big trouble.
Our parents worried about us too.
We wanna be that legal.
We were stressed to our parents too.
Principles of
I imagine.
We'll take it up there. We're kind of out of time. We are out of
Marriage
time.
is not a mission field either. Sometimes people enter in a marriage thinking that they're gonna convert their mate after they're married. That does not usually happen. It can happen, but it doesn't usually happen. Oh, we gotta teach them that too.
Trying to get that word he's saying.
Well, that started, right?
Yeah.
But it's, he likes it so far. Living at home and going to school from home.
No, he's
He's in that dorm.
Yeah, but Sunday is the time to take another.